During the session, there's been a number of references or questions about a water quality bill. There is a water quality bill, and it's alive and well. This bill, Senate File 512, provides for a long-term dedicated stream for water quality improvements. Programs and funds are created to address both point source, industrial or municipal, and non-point source, natural and agricultural nutrient runoff into Iowa's surface waters. In 2013, the governor, the Iowa Secretary of Agriculture, the Director of the Department of Natural Resources, and Iowa State University announced the creation of the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy in response to the EPA's expressed commitment, and I'll quote from the EPA's words, to partnering with the states and collaborating with stakeholders to make greater progress in accelerating the reduction of nitrogen and phosphorus into our nation's waters, unquote. The EPA approved and lauded the Iowa plan, and the plan is considered to be the model that other states are seeking to emulate. It's important to note that the nutrient reduction strategy is a science-based, collaborative, non-regulatory, and long-term plan. Earlier this year, Secretary Northey, Director Gipp, and ISU Dean Dr. John Lawrence testified to our Natural Resources and Environment Committee to report on the progress of the strategy. Dr. Lawrence outlined research accomplishments of the legislatively funded Iowa Nutrient Research Center at Iowa State University, and I quote Dr. Lawrence, "Over the last 4 years, we've had more than 40 research collaborations involving nearly 80 scientists across the 3 Regents universities and including IDALS, the DNR, and USDA. The work is helping us to better understand nutrient movement across the landscape, to be more precise with conservation practices, and address barriers to the use of cover crops. A total of 45 demonstration projects are currently located across the state to help implement and demonstrate water quality practices. This includes 16 targeted watershed projects, 7 projects focused on expanding the use of innovative delivery of water quality practices, and 22 urban water quality demonstration projects. More than 150 organizations are participating in these projects. These partners will provide over $25 million to go along with $16 million from the state funding going to these projects. Senate File 512 is the logical progression of the nutrient reduction strategy. We must recognize the scope of the challenge ahead. It's predicted that there will be 9 billion mouths to feed on this planet by the year 2050. The demands on agriculture, especially Iowa agriculture, will be greater than ever. We are blessed with the most fertile soil of any geographical area in the world. We're also blessed with sufficient rainfall to have the most efficient, most productive food production system the world has ever known. That combination, fertile soil and an abundant rainfall, presents us with the unique challenge of growing food while at the same time protecting our natural resources. I think we can do both. Here are some features of this bill. The Water Quality Financial Assistance Fund is set up through the Iowa Finance Authority to address point sources and is administered primarily by the Iowa Finance Authority. Projects are approved by a committee consisting of representatives from the DNR, from IDALS, and from IFA, with priorities given to disadvantaged communities and to those projects that will improve water quality within a watershed, along with a number of other priorities established in the bill. Financial assistance consists primarily of grants and revolving loans. Iowa already has a wastewater treatment financial assistance program. This bill adds a provision to provide assistance for those communities that must make drinking water treatment improvements. I'd like to also mention the bill makes UMOs, or utility management organizations, eligible for assistance. And maybe unless you've been a county supervisor in a rural Iowa county, you don't know what a utility management organization is. County supervisors have been tasked to deal with the unsewered communities around the state, and there are hundreds of them. These are small communities in most rural districts, or in all rural districts, that previously have had no wastewater treatment plans. That is part of the pollution load that we have in Iowa, and this legislation speaks to that and makes those UMOs eligible for funding under the legislation. In addition, the Water Quality Infrastructure Fund is established under the Department of Land and Stewardship and supports both in-field practices and edge-of-field installation of structures designed to reduce nutrients, sediments, and contaminants from flowing into surface waters. These practices and structures are scientifically proven to be effective and to control nutrient runoff, and the money is allocated on a cost-share basis, an important feature. Other important policy language is included in the bill, including the definition of the nutrient reduction strategy, along with the definition of point source, so as not to include industrial, agricultural stormwater discharge. The bill also establishes a baseline against which nutrient reduction will be measured. And the bill calls for annual reports, progress reports to the governor and to the legislature so we can keep track of this in the years ahead. Now for the funding mechanisms of the bill. Currently, all Iowans that buy water from a municipal or rural water system pay sales tax on the tap water they use. And that generates approximately $24 million for the general fund annually. Under this bill, in FY19, 1/6 of the sales tax on tap water is converted to an excise tax and appropriated equally between point and non-point water quality programs. This is approximately $4 million for FY19. In fiscal year 20, 2/6 of the sales tax on tap water is converted to an excise tax, and that is appropriated equally, again, between point and non-point water quality programs. In FY21, we change the funding rather substantially. In 21, 3/6 of the sales tax on tap water is converted to an excise tax, and all $12 million generated by that will be appropriated to point source water quality programs. This is then capped at that 3/6 level, and the bill sunsets that provision in fiscal 2029. Currently, gaming receipts are being used to pay off Vision Iowa bonds at the rate of $15 million per year. The bonds will be paid off at the end of fiscal year 20. Senate File 512 calls for directing that $15 million to non-point water quality programs beginning in fiscal year 21. And that provision also sunsets at the end of fiscal year 29. So the funding established in this bill, House or Senate File 512, will direct an additional $4 million to water quality programs in FY19, $8 million in FY20, and $27 million in FY21 through fiscal year 29. Mr. Chairman, those are my opening comments.